Hi, everyone. Good evening and welcome to day 10 of our Salesforce training. Tonight, we're going to continue with Salesforce training on service and support applications. In previous days, we've learned about sales and support applications. We've learned about company configuration. We've learned about leads. We've learned about opportunities, campaigns, and we've seen how everything is coming together. For tonight is going to end our beyond administrative task session, and hopefully by the end of tonight we should be able to use Salesforce. So after tonight, we're going to go into data management, data loading, importing, and the like. So that's when you start doing the real administrative stuff. So for this service and support applications, it covers about 11% of your certification exams if you're writing that. And one of the things we're going to be discussing is case management. As you can see, there's so many things you can do with case. The case object, for instance, we have the case assignment rules, just like we have for the leads. We have the queues. We also have automate case management, for instance, the support process, the case auto response rules, the case escalations, and the likes. I like working with bullet points, and these are the things we're going to be learning today. Again, you'll see some familiarities with the sales and the support processes, but one thing you should know is that these are inbuilt to the Salesforce, okay? So the support process is different from the sales process, it's different from the opportunity process and everything like that. So one thing, just 1 minute, please, can you mute if you're not speaking? I don't expect you to be speaking right now. So we have the case fields and the case comments. We're going to be going through that. We're going to go through how to set up a knowledge. We're going to go through automation, assignment rules, and the likes, okay? Without wasting much time, let's quickly jump into the org and let's start doing some stuff. So this is a case, okay? This is a case. Oh, okay, the case is not here. The case would be under service, okay? But obviously, if you cannot see the case, for instance, we're in the sales app, and if you cannot see the case object for any reason, you can just bring it to view. As you can see, it's just hidden under the More tab, okay? And if you cannot find it in any of this tab, you should just add it to your tab list, okay? So you just look for the case and add it. And if you cannot find it here, so you have, like I've shown you 3 ways to look for that case object. The first way is, okay, I cannot find it here. What could be the problem? The problem could be you have not made it active on the tabs, okay? Or it's just hidden somewhere under the More. So try to check the More to find out where the case object is. But if you cannot find it there, you can possibly look for it in the Edit tab and add more items and look for it here, okay? That's number 2. If you cannot find it here, then you need to check your profile. Your profile will determine whether case is default on or off. So you can check the tabs first and see what settings you have for the case object. But case is a standard object. So by default, you should have it there, or you should only set it as off or hidden, okay? So you don't get to see it in the custom objects. However, if you go to the object manager, you go to the case objects, and you can go to either accessibility from here, okay? You can go to the accessibility from here. On the page, you can go to the field accessibility for any of the case fields and walk your way through there. Or you could alternatively just go to your profile. Maybe your profile is the reason why this is not showing for you. Then you can go to the profile and you can determine what profile you're logged in as, the username. Then you go to, obviously, I'm logged in as a system admin. Then you can go to the case objects within the system admin and find out the tab settings for the case object. So you go to the tab settings and you find out what's the case. So it's default on, obviously. So it should be there. It's just probably going to be hidden somewhere here, okay? But if it is default off, meaning that it's there, but you have to add it if you want to use it, okay? If it is default hidden, like you can see for some of this object is tab hidden, meaning that it's not going to be here. You can't even add it, okay? The only way you can bring it is to make sure that you make it default on or default off, okay? So that's just heads up for you. So now let's go into cases. Before I start with the back-end stuff, let's go to the front end and talk a little bit more about cases and why Salesforce introduced case. So cases are customizable records that track and manage customer support interactions, such as, questions, complaints, requests, and the like. What does that mean? So if you're working in an enterprise or you're working with a business that requires you to have to manage customers, to manage requests, to manage issues. As you can see, when we started the old training, some of you had issues with our single login platform, and you were just bombarding the Telegram group with issues, right? Normally, if we are a big organization, which obviously we hope to, everything that you're facing should be going through what they call a support process. What do I mean by that? A support process is a process put in place to resolve issues within a business. So if you're a service-oriented business, there should be a way which you address customers' issues to ensure that the customers can be happy with the services you're providing. So cases are ways or objects you can easily use to manage those expectations. So what do you do with cases? As the name describes, cases are for you to create requests, complaints, or questions about certain things a business is offering. So let's say, for instance, I'm having issue with a single login platform. I create a new case in the system for XYZ person. I prioritize the case. So this guy is having issue, but what kind of issue is this person having? The priority in the case fields will determine what type of issue you're trying to resolve. It could be if it's financial issue, or if it's something that will impact finances, then you want to put it as I. If it's something that, okay, I cannot see this box that you asked me to click, then you want to put it as low, okay? But that's just generic. There are so many use cases for using the case object. This is just a very low-key example, okay? So now the origin. The origin is also important. Why is it important? It's important because you want to find out where the case is coming from, like where the person is filling the form to submit a case. If you go to the Black Force contact form online, you submit a case there, and in the case origin, it should be tagged as coming from the web. If you pick up a call and someone make a complaint about certain services you're providing, then the case origin should be phone. If someone send an email to the support team and you automatically link your email to the case object, which I'm going to show you tonight, then the case origin should be email. Okay, so the case origin determines where the case is coming from. The priority determines how your business prioritizes cases. Okay, so everything can be prioritized based on how important the case is. Status determines the life cycle of the case. For instance, if a new case comes into the system, you call it new. If someone attends to the case and they haven't solved the problem, you call it working. And if a case has been open for like 3 days and it hasn't been resolved, you possibly could escalate the case. So we have different options to set for the life cycle of the case. We also have what we called, we have other fields which might not necessarily be interesting to you, but we do have them. So just learn about these types, the fields of case. And once you create the case, you save. So this is a typical case page. And let's say I don't like this display. I told you, you can always change your display if you don't like it, okay? In Salesforce, you have that liberty to move things around, and you can just drag. Okay, I'll just go to details, and I can just bring details here, and I can just close this. I can bring related here. So, okay, you should be comfortable with all this approach, or all this customization for designing your record page. Okay, this is called record pages. And as you can see, I transform from the usual record page. Let me show you what we currently have, so you can see the difference between what we currently have and what we're going to have in a minute. So I go to cases and I click on a case. As you can see, this is what we currently have. And how do I change that? I go to edit page, okay? Not edit object, not setup, edit page. Then I just move things around and I save. The first time you're making these changes, you have to activate it, okay? Activating means that you want to assign it to the org, meaning that you want everyone that is using the case object to see the new changes you're making, okay? This is assigned to default org. In your project, I think I asked you to do something, but I was asking you to assign to an app, the app which you created. So this is how to solve one of the questions in your project. Assign to default org means everyone would get to see it. Assign to app means only the app which you've created would use this record page, okay? Assign to app, record type, and profiles, meaning that only the app, only a particular record type, and only a particular profile would be able to see these changes. But for this example, I'll just make it very straightforward. I'll assign it to the org. So anyone that logs into this org would see these changes that I have made to the record pages, okay? So now it looks a bit cleaner, it looks different. What you can also do is edit. You can bring the path. So this is the path. Again, as you can see, I'm just typing it into the component and I'm dragging the component into the view, okay? You drag them into the view. The reason why you can drag them into the view is because you have them pre-made by Salesforce. You have them pre-made by Salesforce, okay? So I save. So when I save, I don't need to activate twice because I've already activated it previously and everything would be fine. So now that I have this, as you can see, the path is not showing. And there's a reason why the path is not showing. One of the reasons is maybe we don't have a support process in place and maybe we don't have a record type. So let's quickly go through that and see if it's going to be activated. I go to setup and I go to support process. Remember, we've done this before, so I'll just kind of like skim through it because it's the same thing as what we did before, right? I told you we have different types of processes. We have the lead processes to manage the lead. We have the sales processes to manage the sales, that's the opportunity. Then we have the support processes to manage the case. This is an exam question. So we have support processes and I can just say, okay, if the case is from print subscribers, which is a typical case study of what Blackforce is using. Blackforce says, if the case is from a subscriber, they should follow a different process. For instance, there should be an escalation field, okay? Save. And if the case is from non-subscribers, they would follow a different process. Perhaps I'm going to take the escalation away and it's going to just be new working close. So there is no escalation for non-subscriber. That's what the support process is all about. To make this support process really work, then you create a record type. A record type will differentiate different types of customer. Support process is the process. So understand the difference between the record types and the support process. The record types differentiate the records in the system, but the support process would initiate the support process, the support path, life cycle to address or resolve an issue, okay? The same, I'll just put it at subscribers again, but remember, this is different from process. Process is different from record types. Record types helps you differentiate the type of records or the kind of fields that should be displayed based on the records you're taking, okay? For instance, subscribers, I can ask them for their user ID. For non-subscribers, I might not need to ask that information because a non-subscriber might not have the user ID, okay? So now I make it active, but again, I like to limit it to 1 or 2 profiles. But whenever you have to create a record type, make sure you have a reason for creating that record type, okay? If you don't have a reason for creating record type, please don't create it. And you'll make your life easier because there are some record types that you create. And if you make it default to the profile, you might not be able to delete that record type. And if you cannot delete that record type, it becomes a problem if you don't need that record type anymore. Although it's not really an issue. If you don't need a record type, you can just deactivate it. But again, why would you create something in the system that you probably don't need, okay? So you don't just select everything. Just look for the business analysis document, and that would guide you on which of the profile should have the record types you're creating, okay? So now we have this record type, and I have assigned it to just the system admin for this purpose. I go back to the case objects, and if I try to enter a new case, where's the case? Case, new. You get that alert that determines what type of case you want to create, okay? You want to create for subscriber or you want to create for non-subscriber. So for the subscriber, you have the status with escalated, and for the non-subscriber, you don't have the escalated in place, okay? And you can see that whenever you create a case, okay, can you mute, please? Whenever you create a case, you can see that we have the record type, and you can also change that record type from non-subscriber to subscriber. So that's a process, and that's how you create the process for that case, okay? So now let's say we have this case. What are the things we can do with cases? The first thing is we can do assignment rules. Just like we did for lead, we can do for cases. What are assignment rules? Assignment rules are just a way to, just 1 minute. I'm trying to find out. Just 1 minute. Yeah, just making sure that I have the right one. Yeah, so assignment rules are just a way which you can assign a case to an owner based on a criteria, okay, or a formula. We've done it with leads, but I'll quickly show you with cases. You have only one assignment rule. You can only have one assignment rule active. You can create as many assignment rules as possible, okay? But if you make this active, then the other one will go inactive, okay? So you can only have one assignment rule active. However, you can have as many assignment rules as possible, okay? If you go to the standard, we can just edit this standard and make it active. Then we can go to, we can now create rules entry. So what are rules entry? Rules entries are what you evaluate, okay? You evaluate this, and if it is true, then it's going to do something, okay? So now I'm saying if a case contains, or let's go to this, let's use a subject. If the subject contains urgent, okay? If the subject contains urgent, then I want to assign it to a user. So when I click on this search, this pop-up appear, then I can select a user in the system, okay? And once I select the user in the system, I save. So anytime we create a case that has a subject that contains urgent, it's going to be assigned to the test user. We can test this by refreshing, and we go to cases, we go to new, and it doesn't matter wherever we're using, what process we're using, but the most important thing is we go down to subject. So this is a subject, urgent, okay? I'm not sure if it's case sensitive, but I'll just put it as urgent for now. And remember, for us to make sure that the assignment rules kick in within our org, we have to select assign using active assignment rule, okay? And we click on save. So when we do this, you can see that the case owner is test user. But if I did not click active assignment rule, I will be the owner of this case. But right now, it is test user. So if I were to create this case again, and the subject does not contain urgent, the subject contains something different. Even if I click active assignment rule, it shouldn't assign to test user. It should assign to the person that is creating the case, okay? So that's the difference between activating the assignment rule and checking that box. But more importantly, the reason why it works is because the subject contains urgent, okay? So that's case assignment rule. There's also what they call auto response rule. What are auto response rule? Auto response rule, again, I think we did this while we're dealing with lead, are essentially automatically sending an email whenever a criteria is met, okay? So I'm gonna say standard again. Remember, for all these rules, you cannot have multiple rules active at the same time. You only need to have one rule. Then that rule, you will now create criteria or entries in that rule, okay? So now I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say, just 1 minute. We've used subject. Let's use something different. Let's use source. Source. Or I can say status. No, type. Okay, I'm going to use case type. So if the case type equals to mechanical, then what do I want to do? Remember, auto response rule. What are auto response rules? I said that, I described that previously. Auto response rules are rules which you created that will send automatic email to whoever is creating that case, okay? To whoever is creating that record in the system. And who is going to be the sender? You can specify the sender, but make sure that you have the org-wide email addresses verified, or the system admin, you can use the email of the system admin, okay? So now you have to specify an email, because auto response rule requires you to send email out of the system. So you need a template. And I showed you the last time how to create templates. So we probably don't have to describe that, but I will just kind of like select a default template. Then I click on save. Remember, you can also send auto response rule with a survey link attached to it, and the user that gets that email will be able to fill a survey. Okay, so now we have an auto response rule, and we've created a criteria or a root entry for that auto response rule. That is, whenever the case type equals mechanical, it should send an automated email to the person that owns that case. So let's quickly demonstrate that. I refresh this, and I have, where's my case? Cases, new case. I go to, doesn't matter what type of record it is. I go to working, but the most important thing is the type that has to be mechanical. Then I click on email, I click on anything here. That's not a problem. But the most important thing, make sure that you assign using the active assignment rule. So the expectation is the owner of this case should get an email But remember, I am the one filling this on behalf of the owner. Ideally, the owner should be coming from, let's say, an external website, and the owner will be sending the form. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do web to case and email to case shortly. So the owner technically should be someone that is coming from an external website. You shouldn't be doing that for the owner, but because we're filling it on behalf of the owner, we have to assign using the active assignment rule. But one other key thing we need to put in place is the email, because how would you be able to identify or communicate with the owner which you are sending, you're creating a case on behalf? So the email is always a valid entry whenever you want to send an auto response through. You want to make sure that there's an email there. Otherwise, you won't be able to send the auto response through. You can just put some random stuff as a subject, and description can also be whatever it is you are trying to discuss with the person. Okay. So now I say, so if you look at it right now, you would see that this has been sent, but you might not see much going on. So what I would probably have to do is to bring feed to this page. This is a customized page, remember? So I can bring feed. I can bring chatter feed. Let me see if I can bring feed. Okay, let me see what else I can bring. Activity. I think I have activities there, but let me just bring, I think activities is the same. Let me see. Yeah, there's not much save. But one thing you would observe is that the chatter will tell you more about the case, okay? So you can have something like this, and whenever you do something regarding this case, something would come up and you can see some timeline, okay? So after that, I expect to have gotten, okay, this email is not coming up. Okay, I think I activated the active assignment, but let me check the criteria again. Equals mechanical, and it should be that, okay? But maybe there's some time delay, but I expect that should happen. Let's try that again, but we're gonna go into another example, but make sure that this is typed and okay, just 1 minute. I think I know the problem. I need to create, I need to attach it to a contact. Let me see if I have a valid contact in the system. So let me type in Babatope to see if I have a valid contact in the system, because that seems like a wrong email to put for the case. Okay, let's use the right case, a valid email. So this is a contact in the system, and I will ensure that this contact has a valid email. Okay, I wouldn't use my email. I'll use my training email. Then I save. Okay, so now that I save, let me create another case, but making sure that I select that contact as the owner of the case. Again, I'm just going to make sure that I have all this selected, which are very important, but more importantly, the contact. Okay, so this contact will not, the case will not be looking for this contact email. Okay, I think this is the wrong email that I put. Okay, so now that I have that, more importantly, make sure it matches the criteria which we've set, and click on active assignment, then put a subject, sample subject, sample description. Okay, so we have those two in place, and I check this, send notification email to contact. I'm not going to check this because I have my auto response through. I want to test auto response through. Alternatively, if you don't have auto response through, or you know that the criteria is not gonna match what your auto response rule says, then you can click this. Okay, this will also send email to the contact. So now I saved. my expectation is, why is this shaking? Refresh. Okay, so I have that. Just 1 minute. I want to see what I can bring to this feed. I don't think there's anything there. That's fine. I want to go back to my default view just to see how that's why it's breaking, right? So I have this, and I want to. I still don't know why the email is not being sent. It's not been sent, but let's wait. Sometimes after the training, I just get a bunch of emails, but let's wait on that.
Sometimes slow.
Yeah. So now that's the auto response rule. Okay. The auto response rule again is just sending automatic responses based on the criteria based on the rules criteria in the auto response rule. That's how you send. That's how you use the auto response rule. So we've learned about auto response rule. We've learned about assignment. There's also what they call email to case. So what's email to case? Email to case essentially is how you can reroute or how you can automatically create a case based on customer's email. So what do I mean by that? Whenever a customer sends you an email, for instance, if you go to Blackforce and you send an email to training@blackforce.ca, automatically a case would be created in the system. That feature is called email to case. For you to enable that, you need to do some settings, okay? I click on edit, but again, this is how I got there. Email to case in the quick find, email to case, continue. I click on edit, okay? When I click on edit, I have to enable email to case, and I can decide to whether notify case owners. Then I can determine what should happen when an email is being sent and stuff like that. So I click on save. Then now that I have this, some things would appear. So you have to create a routing. So what's a routing address? A routing address is the address Salesforce will provide for you. Okay? Salesforce will provide a routing address, meaning that they will provide you with a dummy address at salesforce.com. Then you talk to your network administrator to map that address to maybe your company address. So I'll explain that to you shortly. So let's just give an example of training email to case. Okay. Then I will say, I don't want to use this because I want to test with this, but let me say avatar@gmail.com. So that will be my the email I'm going to use to verify this routing. Then what should happen when an email is sent to that email address? Sometimes you might want to create a task, and you might want to put the task as in progress or whatever status you want to put that task. Then you have case settings. Who should own this case? Whenever an email is sent to that email address, a case should be created. Who should own this case? That's what it's saying, okay? Then what kind of priority and what kind of origin do you want to put? I'll just put as email. Then priority I can set as low. But remember, these are required fields, okay? They are required fields. And if you have a record type in place, you can say this is an active email for subscribers, and it is going to the subscribers record type, okay? Then I save. Once I save, I'll be asked to confirm that if I don't activate that email, then the email would the email to case would not work. Then I'll confirm that I need to activate it. But right now it's telling me that email to case routing email must be different than the default owner email address. Okay, so I have two options. I can either change the default owner email address, or I just change this to another email, okay? So I'll just change this to another email, but I need to verify that email, okay? So now that I have created that email to case, remember what I did? I edit first, I enabled email to case, then I now did the verification and stuff like that. So I got this. Can you see this dummy long email address given to me by Salesforce? This is what they call like a pseudo email address. So technically, this is the email address the customers will be sending email to. However, you don't provide this in the front end. What you need to do is to make sure that your network or your network administrator can configure this to use the Salesforce email. So how do you do that? Technically, what you probably want to do is you go to all those hosting services and you register. Obviously, your company will have a website, and you register a hosting platform, and you create an email using your company website, such as info@blackforce.ca, right? So now, whenever they send email to info@blackforce.ca, it will go into this address. So it's automatically forwarded to this address. And because Salesforce has already configured this to always create a case in the system, then you automatically get case created in the system. But before you can do that, you need to make sure that you verify this email. If you don't verify this email, you would not be able to create the case. So I'm just going to check my email right now, and I'm going to verify this, okay? So let me just refresh this. As you can see, it says verified. I just checked my email now, and I can see the email. I click on the link in the email. Now it says verified, meaning that I can now send email to this email address, and a case would be automatically created for me in the system. So let's quickly do that. I'm going to say sample case from email. And the recipient is this. But remember, the recipient should be dummy to this, okay? This should be info@blackforcetraining.ca. Then whenever email gets to info@blackforcetraining.ca, it should be going to this email address. But the process of configuring that will take a bit of time. That's why I'm just typing the email address straightforward from Salesforce, okay? This is a case created from the email. Okay, this is a case created from the email. So now I send this case, and I expect the case to be created in the system. Okay, so I'm just going to refresh, and I'm going to go to all open cases, sample case from email. Okay, and you can see this is a case created from email. That's how you automatically configure all your email. You create different emails in Salesforce, and you configure those emails to forward to the email given to you by Salesforce. So anytime they send an email to those email address, it will automatically create a case for you in the system. So this is how it works, right? You create an email for subscribers, you create an email for non-subscriber, you create an email for whatever category or process you put in place. Based on the process, you can now determine the record type. Remember, when we were creating this email, it asks us to specify the record type. So you can determine the record type to determine the process. You can do a lot of things, okay? So remember that this is another feature from Salesforce. There is email to case, and there is web to case. So web to case works exactly like web to lead, okay? The only difference is that one is sending to lead object, and the other one is sending to the case object. So let's just quickly create a sample web to case HTML. And I'm going to grab the type. I'm going to grab the status. I'm going to grab the subject is there, maybe priority, and that's it. I'm just going to redirect back to Blackforce after creating the case. Then I generate the HTML. Again, I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to open my Visual Studio Code so I can quickly just create an HTML. Okay, so just 1 minute. I want to create a very simple HTML based on what we just generated from Salesforce. Again, this is the HTML I just generated from Salesforce, and I'm going to save it on my desktop. I'm just going to call it web2case.html. You need to make it .html, otherwise it wouldn't come up properly on the website. So now this would be turned into HTML. So now we have the HTML in place. Remember, these are just the fields, and you don't need to know anything about this, okay? You will never be asked to do this at work, but you should be able to know that you can generate cases from the web, just like you fill in a contact form. That's how it works. So now let me just quickly open the web2case I just created. So web2case, I'm looking for the file on my computer. So this is a web2case I just created, okay? Obviously, it doesn't look as clean as this form, but eventually your web designer would create this fancy form, and this form will look just be fancy as what you can see on the website. So now that we have that, I can easily just fill something, put a valid email, put a valid phone. I will put urgent in the subject. I think we have a rule that says urgent email, urgent to go to certain things, right? So I put urgent and I just put random stuff in the description, but I put the status as new and priority as high, type, mechanical, submit. Okay, so now that I have submitted the form, I go back to, first of all, let me go into the case objects. I refresh this and I go to all open cases. And as you can see, we get automatically case in our case object, okay? And it is assigned to test user because I think we have an active assignment rule that says whenever a case is urgent, we have an active assignment rule that says whenever a case contains urgent, it should assign to test user, okay? But now, as you can see, I can get an email, but it's going to my spam. It says urgent, and it says, Babatope, thank you for submitting your question online, blah, blah, blah. This is obviously an auto response in place, okay? So now we have this was in place because the guy filled the email address, okay? But more importantly, just see that it's coming from the Salesforce, okay? And you can also configure all this. You can configure this. You don't have to use this. Just go to your org-wide. I think there's org-wide addresses, and you can configure all this. But once you configure it, then you'll be able to send from admin@blackforce.ca instead of having all this in the sender. Okay, that's how you can easily configure that, and that's how you can easily send an email from the website into Salesforce. So now you've seen how to send email from the website into Salesforce. You've seen how to do email to case, and you've seen how to do assignment rules. So I'll go to cases again. There's more to cases than just what I've shown you, but that's the beginning, okay? So once you understand what you can do with cases, then you can now start playing around to do more stuff with cases. So now we've done assignment rules, we've done auto response rule, we've done email to case, we've done web to case. Let's go to case teams. What are case teams? Case teams are essentially the teams working on a case. So let's say you have a big client and you know that there is what they call SLA. When you are working in a big organization, you need to meet the SLAs. SLA is a service level agreement. And that means you cannot go past, you cannot wait. SLA means service level agreement. Service level agreement has to do with the priority you give different cases. For instance, if in an agile, I think in an agile environment, we have P1, P2, P3, P4. P1 meaning that you literally need to solve it within 4 business hours. P2, 8 business hours. P3, maybe 24 business hours. And P4, maybe like 48 business hours. So service level agreement has to do with the priority as well as how you resolve the case. You can also configure your case life cycle to work in accordance with the priority and service level agreement. Obviously, Salesforce did not do any justice by just making it SLA violation, yes or no. But sometimes you can actually specify the service level agreement type, P1, P2, P3, P4. So once you set that, you can now say, okay, my sales team needs to address this. Whenever I have a case, I can assign the case to a case team to be working on. So how do you create a case team? You go to case teams and you click on case teams and you can easily create a case team. But before you can create a case team, you can create a case team, but sometimes you might want to define the roles for this case team, okay? You might want to define the roles for this case team. For instance, you want to specify who this person is and what they can do. I can say manager, then I can say manager can read and write, okay? And I save. Then I can say I have another case team role. I'll just call it assistant. And what can they do? Maybe read only and stuff like that. So now that you have this, you can now create a predefined case team. What's a predefined case team? A predefined case team are the people you have assigned or grouped together to work on a particular case, okay? So you can create, let's say, high value customers, okay? High value customers. Then you start saying, okay, I want to look for contact, Babatope or something like that. And I'll just say, okay, this is a manager. Then I can say, if this is this, then they can work on this. But obviously, having a contact is not a very good approach. You can just use users because users are the people working for your organization. But contacts could be external people, and you don't want external people to be working on your case. You want the users that works for you to be working for cases, okay? So now you save this, but you can also add more people to this, okay? Try to add more people to this, and you can have edit, then I can add more, okay? So that means I have more than one person working on a case, and obviously it helps you resolve the case faster, okay? So now that I have this, what I can do is go back to case, refresh this case, refresh the case list, and I can go to related, okay? When I get to related, I can assign teams. But as you can see, the teams are not coming. And whenever you are expecting something, and especially within the related tab, and you cannot find that stuff there, all you just need to do is go back to your backend, which is the gear, set up, and you can bring that stuff to view. How do you do that? You go to the case, you go to the page layout, and you go to case layout, and you go to related. Okay, when you go to related, you can see some things that are currently inactive, and you can bring them back to the view. Okay, so I save. Now that I save, I can refresh this and I expect to see my teams there. Okay, I click on related. Now I have teams. So I have the option of adding a member or just add a team, the one I created, high value customer team. Okay, so once you have the high value customer team, when they log in, they will be able to see this case, even though the case has not been shared with them. The whole idea of working as a team is sharing of records, okay? Sharing of records, meaning that even though I've not created this myself and I am not the owner of this case, I will still be able to see this record. That's what that means, okay? So now that we have the case team, there's also one thing that you need to know about when it comes to cases. What are they? You have the duplicate rules, which obviously I showed you the last time, but you also have what they call the merge case. What was the merge case? The merging of cases has to do with cases that are duplicates. Okay, so we have the duplicates, which is fine, but we have what they call the merging of cases. So if you go to case, you go to case merge, and you can enable case merging of cases. What do I mean by that? Instead of having to create your duplicate matches, having to create your criteria and everything, Salesforce automatically helps you merge a case. Why would you want to do that? For instance, some people can be very, very aggressive with their contact. Anytime something is not going right, they just send you email and they can send you like 20 emails in a day, right? So you don't want those kind of people to keep creating cases and creating different tickets in the system. You want those tickets to be merged into one case so you can address them as duplicates, or you can even delete them, okay? You can delete them. If you don't want to keep them, you delete them. But again, it's totally up to you, but make sure that you discuss with the business analyst or your business before you decide to keep duplicates or delete duplicates. As you can see, Salesforce is recommending duplicate case merge instead of deleting. So it's totally up to you after you merge what you want to do with the case. So now I refresh this case again, and you will be able to see merge cases, okay? These are the way you merge case with other cases in the system. I think you can merge up to 3 cases at a time. So if you have similar cases, you can just merge 3 and probably just delete the rest. It's totally up to you, but that option exists for you to use in Salesforce. So the selected record have different currency types. To merge them, first edit the currency types and the likes. Okay, that's not really a major issue. It's just a currency type. You can just edit that. But again, I wouldn't bother too much about that. But one thing I just wanted to know is that we have the merge cases. We also have hierarchy. The case hierarchy is just like you designing, okay, this is a parent case, meaning that someone has reported this case and this is the root cause of this case. Then what are the issues that can be traced back to the root cause? So you have one case as a parent case, then you have other cases under the parent case. That's how you do the case hierarchy, okay? So that's sharing hierarchy, but there's case hierarchy as well. Where's case hierarchy? View case hierarchy, and you can determine the case hierarchy. So I can actually add a case, then I can create a new case and make this case the parent of that case. So if you go to new and you select a case, you can determine there should be a way to determine the parent of the case. Maybe it's not in view, but you can also drag it in view as well. Okay, so we have that, and we have what we called I've done case merge. There's also queues. Okay, there's queues, and you can also create cases into. You can also add crazy. You can also create cases, queues for cases. Okay, case queue, and you have the case objects when you're creating the queues, and you select the users of that queue. Okay, so once you select the users of that queue, then we have a case queue. So how do we use a case queue? We use it using assignment rules. Okay, assignment rules technically is to determine who owns a particular record. Okay, so now that we have the case queue, instead of assigning to test user, I can just assign to a queue. Okay, I can just assign to a queue, and I know that whenever it's the case matches the criteria urgent, is going to be assigned to a queue. So now if I go back to this and I know that this is urgent, I submit this, okay? And I go back to refresh. I go to my cases. I go to my case queue. I should be able to see this in my case queue. Just the same way we've done for lead, we done for cases. And definitely you have the option to accept this case. And once you accept this case, let me open this in a new browser so you can see when things change. So right now it's currently a case queue. I click on accept. And once I accept this case, I refresh this. It's going to turn to my name. That's why you have the option to assign case to queue, just like we have with lead and stuff like that. And I think you should get an email as well because we put the valid email for that contact. So now that we've seen all these stuffs, there is more to cases, but I cannot tell you everything. You just need to play around with case and you should be able to see what you can do with case. For instance, there is email. You can actually communicate to the case owner right from the Salesforce, okay? Salesforce gives you the platform to do everything you want with case. Imagine having to design case object yourself, just like we did for students. Imagine the possibility of a single object. That's where Salesforce is trying to tell you that, you know what, you can actually have an amazing support process that would help you streamline all your business challenges right from these object cases. So there is more to case. You just need to be able to kind of use it and try to see the benefits of the case object. So now you can send email directly from the case, okay? And you can collaborate with other people as well. What do I mean by that? If you go to post, you can share updates regarding this case, and you can sort the filter. But I wanted to show something. When you are making when you're using cases, there's what they call the case comments. The case comments, when you make the case comments, you can collaborate based on comments. What do I mean by that? Let's say you and your colleagues are working on a case. You can update the case with just comments. And someone that would be working on this case tomorrow would go through the comments to see what has been done regarding the case. And they can probably provide feedback for that client to support them. So now that we have case comments, remember, these related items can grow based on whatever you want, okay? Right now we have case teams, we have case comments, we have activities. We can go back to the setup and bring more items into the case. So I'll go to Object Manager and I go to Case. Then I go to Layout. I go to Case Layout and I go to Related. As you can see, we have solutions, okay? We have solutions. We have work orders. So what do I mean by work orders? Work orders are generally the action the company is taking to resolve the case. For instance, if you're working within the oil and gas industry and there was an issue with a platform or a machine, right? You have to create a case to identify that there is an issue with this machine. As you can see, when you're creating a case, it asks you what kind of case are you trying to create? Mechanical, electrical, electronic, structure, order. These are the things that Salesforce has created within the case object. You don't have to use this if you don't want to use this. Based on your industry, you can determine to have the case type as this, or you can just go to the case object and take off those fields, and you can add more to those fields. Just go to the fields and relationship, go to type, and you can easily edit that option, okay? So you don't have to be, it's not rigid. It's not like you have to use it. You can deactivate it, you can delete it, or you can add new stuff to it. So going back to this, you have what they call work orders. So work orders are the actions or the process that the business has put in place to resolve that case. Most likely, maybe you have to call an engineer, you have to call a technician to come and address a case, right? So Salesforce gives you that platform to be able to create a work order for a case. And when you create a work order for a case, you can also create work order line items, okay? There is more to case. You just need to play around the case. You need to play around the case object and you can do more. So having said that, I will quickly show you one more thing that is very important. And I think you need to be aware of, okay? I've told you a lot of things that are related to case, but there is also, okay, two more things. The first one is the contacts. So you can actually have more than one contacts, and you can specify the roles of those contacts for a case, okay? So you have, for instance, you have the case, I drag the contact rows in the related items, then I can create contact for this case. I'll say this guy is the main person for this case, is a technical contact, is a business contact, is a decision maker. Whatever you want to do, you can manage the case. So Salesforce is making life easier for you. Even as a business, I would pay for Salesforce. It's just that the license is very expensive. It costs about maybe $1,700 to use the Salesforce basic license. All this stuff you're seeing for that looks really good costs $1,700 a year. So if your business is making good money, you can buy 3 to 4 licenses and start using the Salesforce platform, okay? And there is one last thing called knowledge. Knowledge is just like you writing an article that helps you to solve or resolve a case. What do I mean by that? When you create a case and you can see similar cases together, what do I mean? Similar cases. For instance, someone says, just like most of your comments when you started a Black Force training, you was like, I cannot log into single login. I cannot see this. I cannot see that. Oh, how do I do this? Then I can easily just go and write an article, okay? I can easily go and write an article, and that article is called knowledge. So knowledge is like your WordPress, okay? Knowledge is like your WordPress, whereby you write an article and you can publish that article. So for you to be able to use knowledge, I think, let me check if knowledge is enabled. Knowledge is not enabled. Okay, you need to, first of all, be a knowledge user, or you need to make sure that, you need to make sure that this guy is a knowledge user. If you don't activate this, you will never be able to use knowledge, okay? Let me refresh this. And knowledge settings, okay? So now I have knowledge settings comes up. I need to enable knowledge, okay? I click on enable Salesforce knowledge. Again, knowledge is like your blog post. Always see it as that. Knowledge is like your blog post. Blog post meaning that you're writing an article that will help you or that would help anyone resolve a case. So anytime someone sends an email and says, single login, I cannot access my profile, then Salesforce can say, based on the email you're sending to this address, which contains profile, access, send this knowledge article. You can automatically create an auto response rule that would send a knowledge article based on the content of the subject. Okay, so remember when we're doing auto response rule, we have what they call the criteria, the rule criteria. That's what I was referring to. Okay, so you can just say subject. Where's the subject? Contains or includes, excludes, whatever it is, contains access. So once they talk about any email and the subject asks, I cannot access my profile, then whatever you want to do, you include an email template that has a knowledge article that you've written on how to resolve that issue. Okay, so let me refresh this and I click on, I go to knowledge. As you can see, knowledge comes up now. I can write a new article. Just say how to log in into Blackforce. Then you can specify the URL, which is obviously automatically generated, but you can also specify that as well. You click on save and you have this, okay? So what you can also do is you can publish this, I think. You can publish this knowledge here. Let me see. Just give me 1 minute. I think you should be able to publish this. Let me go back to knowledge. So this is, let me go back to knowledge. Also, you can bring knowledge there, by the way. So if you don't see anything on the tab, you can always bring it. So I go back to draft articles. Then I can just publish, okay? Then I can just determine when to publish it. But the most important thing here is that you have an article, okay? And you can now relate this article to whatever issue you have with a case, okay? Salesforce gives you the tools needed to help your business grow, help to manage all your processes. It's now up to you to either have the skill that is needed to set up all this, or they hire you to set up on behalf of a company or organization. Okay, so I know I've spoken for a very long time, and I kind of like skimmed through all these features. The reason why I skimmed through all these features is because there's nothing to teach about these features. It's just an awareness of what is possible within the case object. Because if I had to teach you, am I going to teach you how to create a new case or telling you that we have these fields in a case? No, you know what a status is, you know what a priority field is, you know what a case number is. What I can just tell you is that maybe the case number are always auto-generated. You cannot specify the case number. So when you're writing for your certification exams, these are the things you want to pay attention to. For instance, how can you manage cases for different processes, subscribers and not subscribers? You use record types, you use processes. For instance, what determines the life cycle of a case? You use a status. The status determines the life cycle of a case. You want to find out auto-response rule, assignment rules, and the likes. So I'm going to take a pause here. I know you guys probably have 1 or 2 questions, and I'm going to start answering questions. If you want to ask any questions, please raise your hand up so I can call you one after the other. Okay, thanks. So I'm just going to take a pause and I'm going to start calling you guys. Yinka, please.
All right, good evening, Babatope. My question, I just wanted to ask that if you want to access the objects that are related to service, do you necessarily have to go to the service app, or you can stay on any of the apps on the App Launcher?
Yes, you can actually stay on any of the apps, okay? You can stay on any of the apps, but make sure that the object is available for it, okay? So if you are on a sales app right now, you can bring the object of interest. As long as the profile visibility is open for that object, you should be able to bring it down. But the service app, okay, it's predefined, but you can also make changes to any app, or you can just clone an app and create your own app as well. Remember, I showed you how to create app. You can just clone that app and just create your own app as well, okay? So you can edit this, for instance, and you go to navigation items. Was it sales we edit or let me go back. I don't know what I selected, but go back to app manager. And I'm pretty sure you know what I'm doing right now, okay? So please, if you don't know, just let me know, but I believe you know. And you go to navigation items, you can bring all these objects into it, okay? And I think that's it. But make sure that when you're creating any object or when you're having it to a tab, when you're adding that object to a tab, don't always select everything. Okay, don't always select everything. Try to minimize what you select. For instance, when you're probably adding this, you must have selected it should be available for this tab, for this tab, for this tab. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's say we have employee tab, for instance, and I want employee tab to be on the sample tab like this. I go to next. Remember, the moment you start saying default on for all this, it means they would always come on. Then for this profile, for this app, can you see? If you say off for this app, for instance, it will not be on the sales app, okay? If you say off for service app, it will not be on the service app, okay? So that's how you make sure that this object do not appear by default on those tabs, okay? But again, Salesforce is highly configurable. It's up to you to determine what exactly you want to see, okay?
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Olubume, please.
Hi, Babatunde. So my question is going to be on purchase order. I know you laid emphasis on the work order, but can we use Salesforce to issue purchase order to vendors?
Contracts, we can have a contract. We can have orders. I don't know about purchase orders, but there's orders. So if that's what you mean, we can have orders as well. There's order objects, and order is associated to a contract. Okay, so if this is what you call purchase order, maybe, but I don't know if there's anything called purchase order in Salesforce. I don't think I've used it before, but we can check. I really doubt, but yeah, there's nothing like purchase order. But let's look at order. We have order, right? And we have work order line item. Remember I told you about work order and work order line item. Line item is the items in that work order. If you've ever worked in the oil and gas industry, you probably understand what this means. Or maybe you work in the service industry, you know work order line item is. But again, I don't think there's anything like purchase order in Salesforce. You use order objects. Okay?
Yeah, purchase order is a contract. So
yes, pretty much contract, yeah. Okay, yeah. Rosemary, please.
Okay, thanks, Babatope. I wanted to ask what's the objective of contact rules in cases? And when you were setting up or creating the new contact rule, there was like a predefined, what's the word? Predefined roles like technical advisor, decision maker, all that stuff. Can that be edited to suit an organization?
Yeah, I think you can customize it, right? Let's quickly go there. We go to related contact roles, new. Then we have this. We have this, right? But if you go to the back end, go to contact roles on cases. And you can add more, you can edit, and like trust me, Salesforce is highly configurable. Anything you want to do, you can modify. You just need to know where it is. Okay.
So what's the objective for contact role in cases actually? Is it like a leader in charge of a case?
Yes. For instance, let's say Blackforce, for instance, anytime I ask you to contact Samuel, contact Tony, I know that it can help you with the technical issues, right? So their contact role is technical. Do you understand? But for the business which you are trying to help out, you can determine who that contact is. Cases are people asking for help. Yes, and it could be a company. It could be a company asking for help. So I want to know who the contact is in that company. So I don't want to be talking technical terms with someone that has no idea what I'm talking about. Okay? So when you're related to that person, you know the language of communication. You want to tell them what they understand and how to resolve their case. You get?
Yeah. That makes sense. Thanks.
No worries. Doris, please.
Hi, thank you. So my question is about the case objects option. So if a company is using the cases to assign cases of customers and they have so many support users, so would they require to have licenses for all the support users that would be using this case object in the company? Or how does that work really?
That's a good question. So by support user, you mean those that are resolving the cases, right?
Yes, those that are resolving the case that go in and get the P1, P2 cases according to the SLA. So those support users, do they all need licenses to be able to use this case option or case object?
Maybe to update certain things, they might require a license, okay? Maybe to update certain things, because there's also what they call collaboration to like post. I can easily just add someone, okay, in the system, and I can communicate within a group as well. So you can add a case to a group. So, with a group, you have what they call charter-free license. The charter-free license is about 5,000 licenses, right? So you don't get to obviously exhaust this kind of license. But the good thing about this license is that it can help you collaborate with other people. But to answer your question, the definite answer is they need a license, they need an account in Salesforce for them to collaborate and resolve cases. As long as they're working for you, they need a license. But the contacts do not need a license. The contacts are people outside of the organization. They don't need a license to work with cases, but the person taking up the cases and trying to solve it requires a license to use Salesforce, and they need a license to help you create, to help you manage your cases in the system. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. And then the charter-free license you talked about, so what's that one used for? Is it more like, I was thinking is more like a collaboration tool for, where you can talk to clients and exchange messages or something. So what would be the difference between this case one and the charter-free one?
So
because I know that, sorry to cut you short, I know that the case one, your clients can use the case one to log in cases and all of that, and then the support analyst can follow through the same case object. But what would the charter-free one really do?
Charter-free one is mostly used for opportunities, okay? So always know the rationale behind these licenses. Charter-free is for opportunities and maybe for cases, but in most cases, you probably don't, like you can see, you can email to case, meaning that I don't even need a license to provide feedback as a client to the business that I'm not happy with this case and stuff like that, just by simply sending email, right? So the charter-free is for opportunities. When you're trying to sell a product, you now invite them, which I believe we're going to do at some point. You create what they call a charter group or a group, and you bring those clients into a group, okay? So they'll be able to click on the messages in your email and they'll be able to reply to those messages, and they might even be able to, I'm not too sure, they'll be able to come to this page whereby they might log in, okay? When they log in, the only thing they see is chatter, this page, and they can talk, relate about an opportunity. So they don't need a license to see all these objects, but they'll be able to see chatter when they log in. So that charter-free just gives them that license to even be able to log in into your Salesforce.
So, so you're referring to the external client and not the actual support users that work with the organization?
Yeah, definitely. Charter-free is charter-free, meaning that it's free license. But the people that work for the organization requires a license to use Salesforce because case is a standard object. Okay. Anytime you talk about standard objects, know that you require a license. Most of the time you require a license to use that object.
And you made mention of one license is up to 1,700. So let's say the organization is a big organization with so many support users or support analysts. So it would be like 1,700 per support analyst.
Yeah, there's always a discount whenever you're buying license in Salesforce, which I think I might probably want to cover it at some point. Look, it's $25 a month, but trust me, it is not $25 a month. The thing you get for $25 a month is not, you get access to account, contact, lead, opportunity. Okay, you get this, but you don't get this. You don't get all those things that make Salesforce what it is, you don't get. So what's the point? You have to get the enterprise or the professional that will give you all those things, right? Then there are so many other features as well. They blank out for you if you're on $25 a month. But again, you don't pay monthly, you pay yearly. Okay, so this is going to be like maybe $250 or $300. Having said that, I honestly don't think Salesforce is for small business, but they still claim to be small business. But anyways, it's totally up to the business because once you start using it, you cannot back out, right? To hire a consultant to configure your Salesforce org could be as much as 10 grand. So is this license that you cannot afford? You should be able to afford it, right? So as a consultant, you need to know how to sell this to your client as well. You need to know the license cost that you need to be telling them and how many users and everything. But then again, I think we have to cover this in the app builder. It's not really an admin cost, but maybe I'll touch base with it before we end the training. Okay?
Okay, I have one more question. Follow up to what you just said. You said once you start using it, you cannot back out. What does that mean? Like you can't leave Salesforce and go to another CRM?
You can probably export your data, but think about it, right? Once you've developed a lot of processes and everything, why would you want to stop paying the license? Do you get what I mean? Like, it's very hard to leave Salesforce once your business is fully integrated into Salesforce. It's very hard to leave. So that's why I mean by you cannot back up. But obviously, you can back out of anything, any contract, as long as you're not giving them your credit card again. That's the end of it, right? They wouldn't hold your neck and say you have to pay. But again, you've already built your businesses, processes, and everything. You probably don't want to back out. But again, you have the liberty to back out. The only thing there is that it's a yearly subscription. So when they say $25, see it as $300 per year per user. So if you have 10 users, it's 3,000. Okay. And for this, if you have 10 users, it is 3,000 times 10, which is 30,000. So a typical bank has about 5,000 license. And trust me, the license fee is about $1 million. That's why I usually encourage you guys to work for banks because they would always use Salesforce and they have license. CIBC has about 5,000. RBC has 5,000. I know those guys in Salesforce that sold these licenses to them, right? So I know that Salesforce will be in the bank for the next 15 to 20 years. So if you still want to have an active career, you should be learning Salesforce because the banks are already committed to having these licenses. So at the end of the day, they need someone to use that license. They need a developer, they need a consultant, they need an admin. Trust me, Salesforce will always be in the market for the next 20 years because the banks are already committed to those licenses. It's a contract. So think about it from that point of view and see how secure your career will be if you're into the Salesforce ecosystem. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Ademola, please.
Thank you very much, Babatope. My question is about the email to case. When we're talking about the routing email that Salesforce creates for you, like the dummy email, the one at the back end, that when people try to send queries or questions to your company. So you said when we use that routing email, definitely the front end user won't see that particular email. They'll probably see something like blackforce@info.ca. Now, on the page of Blackforce that you used as an example, yes, now on the page of Blackforce that you used as an example, there were two options. There's one for, training and partnership. Now, these two emails, are they using the same routing email that Salesforce created? Or for each of them, there's a Salesforce routing email? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, I do understand your question. Let me think. I think it's better to just create different routing email. Okay. Otherwise, if you have the same email, it's going to be going to obviously the same website, but how would you differentiate the process? You're interested in process, right? So yes. This routing email has been configured to do what? It has been configured to use this record type. It has been configured to say case priority is low and case origin is email, right? So how would you be able to differentiate processes based on emails? I want to be able to give my subscribers a different email, my non-subscriber a different email, partners a different email. So you want to create as many routing emails for you to use instead of using one routing, because one routing would always have this configuration settings. Okay.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much.
No worries. Akra, please.
Well, thank you, Babatope. I just wanted to find out, you mentioned the types of processes, right, to be sales, lead, and support. Well, I think I saw approval as well. Is that amongst the list?
Sorry, the types of emails to be?
No, types of processes.
Oh, yeah. We have the lead, we have the sales, and we have the support. There's an approval process, but that's automation.
Oh, okay. So the major ones are the sales, lead, and support.
Yes. So you might even use an examination question. You might want to say sales, lead, and support Salesforce. I think Salesforce explains that, right? So yeah, it's a very popular topic around the exam. So know your processes. The reason why they talk about it is because one is for marketing, one is for sales, and one is for service. So they're very common. Okay.
So I cannot include approval, right?
It's under automation. We're going to talk about it differently when we get there. Okay. It's a different process. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the applications. Okay.
Okay. And then when you created those subscribers and co, you actually went in with the record type feature, right?
What do you mean? Oh, yeah. When you create processes, okay, you have to create a record type. That's what makes processes unique. Without a record type, you cannot use that process. It's a record type that you are manipulating in a process. Because one, the process for instance, support process is based on the status field. Okay? Remember that. It's a status field that is changing. Can you see? New working close, and the other one does not have, the other one has escalated, right? Is that status field that is changing? How do you change that status field? Is the record type. Okay? The record type helps you to change the status field. That's why it's the record type that is literally controlling the process, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. And I think it cuts across.
Sorry, carry on.
I think it cuts across all objects as well. Every object has a record type.
You can create a record type for every object.
Okay, you can, right?
You can, but does not necessarily mean it has, but you can create a record type for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
No worries. I'm a bit, please.
Thank you, Mr. Babatope. You did mention work order as process the business has put in place to resolve a case. So I was just wondering, just like the path under the lead object, is there also a visual representation for work order?
For cases, yes, but for work orders, I'm not sure. You have to create a unique this thing for it. For instance, you go to paths, you have to create a path for it, right? And there are limited objects you can do. I think for custom objects is work order paths. For custom objects, I think you can, but for standard objects, you have to make sure that it is available within the standard object. As you can see, there is work order available, right? Then you can now say you want to use the status field, that's fine. Then once you do that, you click on next, you click on activate, you click on finish, right? So now whenever you create a work order, you will be able to see the path, okay? So I say the status is new, and I say this, save. So I click on the work order and I can edit this page. Then I can bring the paths into the work order, okay? Make sure that you drag the path into the work order. Then you save. You see it's a custom path, okay? Because all those processes, they give you paths by default, but the work order path, you have to create the path first, then you bring it into the page. As you can see now, you have the path for the work order, okay? So it's not by standard, you have it, you have to create it yourself, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Ogale, please.
Hi, Babatope. Thanks for detailed presentation tonight as always. I have a few questions. The first one has to do with an email case. When we are creating...
You're breaking. Can you speak louder so I can understand the question?
Sorry about that. I said when you were creating email case, you created email to case, and I saw another one there that is on-demand email to case. Just want to find out the difference.
It's a bit similar, but I think on-demand just needed some more configuration. That's why I did not touch it. Email to case, it's a bit similar, but you just need to have a firewall, something like that. And it's not, where is it again? On demand, where is it? On demand. Where did you say email?
When you were creating case, just when you were email to case, yes.
Okay, so you say
continue. Yeah, that's it on top.
Yeah, this one, as you can see, say email to case must be enabled before you can enable the on-demand service. So on-demand email to case enables the organization to automatically create cases from email without having you to download and install email to case agent behind the network firewall. So this one enables us to create that email to case. And previously, you need a firewall to ensure that this functions, okay? So if I don't click this, it might not work if I'm not behind a firewall. But because I click this, that's when it works properly. So if you're trying this in your spare time, try not to click this and see if it works. Then click this and see what happens after. Okay?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Thanks. That's the first question answered. Then the other one has to do with case creation of case, I think it's around case management. And you were saying that you can create articles, from cases, knowledge, and then what of a solution? I've always known that, solution are, when cases come in, support agent create solutions so that for future they use it. So what's the difference now with the solution now and knowledge?
That's a bit subjective, right? I understand what you mean. It's a bit subjective, but it's quite tricky. From my own understanding, I think case knowledge is an article-like approach to solving or to how you solve this thing, right? But solution, it's like an object on its own. Okay, so maybe you create a solution or an approach or something like that. But I've not used solution before. But I know that we've used knowledge before, and knowledge is more like an article-based approach to how a case was resolved. But I'm not sure about solution, but I want you to be aware that there's solution as well when you're talking about cases, okay? So just know that there's a standard object called solutions as well.
That's my thanks so much.
Yeah. Otmanero Gogo.
All right, my question is as regard the record type. Before you create the record type, do you need to create like a subset of those record type to choose from?
No, when you're creating record types, you have the liberty to create the record types. But when you have a process in place, you need to select the process. You need to select the process. So if you look at the case, for instance, I want to create a record type, then I will need to select the process because I already have a process in place. So if I don't have any process in place, then I wouldn't need to that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you can create record types based on an existing record type, meaning that you just want to create based on a previously created record types. It helps you with all the settings and stuff. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I've answered everyone, and I just want to go through my slide again to ensure that I've covered everything I wanted to cover. So we've done web to case, we've done email to case, we've done case auto response rule, we've done escalation. No, we haven't done escalation. I'll quickly go through that right now. We've done automation, we've done assignment rule, auto response rule. We've done Salesforce knowledge, we've done articles management, so it's pretty much the same thing. I'm going to quickly show you service console. We've done case field, we've done case comments, we've done case fields, we've done record pages, we've done support processes. So let me quickly show you escalation rule and Salesforce service console. The first thing, escalation rule. Escalation rule, just like every other rule, remember, when it comes to when they say rules, they are one active rule, okay? But this time around, it's not auto response rule, it's not assignment rule, it's called escalation rule. What's escalation rule? Escalation rule is just what should happen if SLA is about to be breached. What should happen? Okay, so for instance, if, okay, I put it as number one, if subject contains subjects, subjects or case status equals to new, okay, state status equals to new, after S number of hours which business has created, what should happen? Okay, after 30 minutes of SLA being breached, who should get a notification about a case that has passed the SLA time? That's what escalation rule is. I want to notify your manager because this case has not been resolved in 3 days, has not been resolved in 5 days. The status of the case is still new after 30 minutes. I want to send a case to a queue so someone else can pick up the case. I want to notify my manager because someone else or the case has not been resolved at the stipulated time. So escalation rules is used to accelerate case resolve time. Is used to let other people know about an existing case and to attend to those cases. Okay, so escalation rule is one key thing in business that it's usually used to speed up resolving cases. You would need this in exam, in Salesforce, generally in life, you need escalation rule. But this is how Salesforce configure escalation rule. The first thing is you have just one rule generally, called escalation rule. Then you now create the criteria when the status equals new and the age over, the number of hours after which the case should escalate if it has not been closed. So when the status equals new and it's been 30 minutes, you created a case. It's been 1 hour, 30 minutes, you created a case. Then I want to auto reassign the case to a particular user. I want to assign to a queue, or I want to notify my manager. Okay? So escalation rule is very important. You'll see about 2 to 3 questions in an exam for escalation rule. It's very important you know it and you know the use case of escalation rule. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2 is a service console. You've seen me move between service, marketing, community, service, sales, and the likes. There's what they call the service console. The service console is used mostly to manage support processes. For instance, the benefit of service console is that you don't get to reload the page. Every time you want to create a new object, you see how it loads. You can close and you can even pin to this tab, okay? And once you pin to this tab, you can easily get to that case. Also, you can open a case and you can pin to, you can customize the tab and just kind of like give it a different name. And the most important thing here is you don't have to reload the page. It makes you effective, okay? That's service console. Again, you have the option of the split view, the Kanban view, and the likes. If you want to switch back, that's fine. And the same list view you have, just like you have for the previous one, you have for this as well, okay? So that's service console generally. And instead of you having objects on the tabs, you get to see the objects here, okay? So that's the benefit of the service console. It makes working easier for you, so to speak. So it's totally up to you if you want to use a service console or you want to use the normal service app. And remember, how do you create service console? When you are creating the app, you select service console instead of the normal app, okay? So if you go to Nest, for instance, let's just say we're creating a sample app, you select console navigation, okay? So if I ask you to create an application used for service management, you probably want to select console instead of standard. Or if you have a job that requires you to develop an application that is used for service management, then you might want to consider using console because it helps them productive. It helps them work well with the Salesforce and makes them more productive, okay? So that's the 2 things that we probably did not touch, but based on my simple explanation, I hope you've been able to, you understand that bit. If you have any quick question regarding that, you can raise up your hand so I can quickly answer that, then we'll close for tonight, okay? Wale Balogun, please.
Thank you. I'll pass on that question because it has been explained. Thank you.
Okay, good. Otman, please.
My question is outside this the topic. It's about the last class we had. Have you uploaded the video, please?
If you're a subscriber, you should be able to see the video. So let me just check again just to make sure that it's there. So I need to go to Blackforce and you will be able to see the video if you sign in. So I'm just gonna sign in as it's always there. Always check. It should be there within 24 hours, within 12 hours.
I checked today, it's not there. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, okay. Let me just quickly check and you would know if it's there or not. So again, I think I uploaded it, the quiz with, I uploaded a quiz with with solutions to check the answers. So if you're struggling with your quiz, then you might just want to check the quiz as well. But I'll go to my learning. That's how to check for the videos of the class. You go to my learning and you go to module 2, which is this. Then you go to the last class we had before the long weekend, which is Sales and Marketing Application 3. Then we have this, which is for subscribers and stuff. So it's totally there. Okay. So I hope this is clear for you, and you just put the password. Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Court, please.
Yes, please, Babatope. I wanted to, the service console you mentioned, I want to believe it has to do with view, and as such, could be used on any of the objects. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you're creating an app, yeah.
Yeah, because you were just mentioning it's for the service app only, sort of.
It makes service, efficient, right? But it's not really specific for the services for any object you want to. You can add more objects there.
Okay, it's an option you can always choose, right? For view.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Timmy, please.
Okay. Good evening, Babatope. You were talking about the what's it called again? Escalation rule. So if you assign it to a queue and nobody picks it up, what happens then? Seeing that
queues are always there, right? It's not really, someone is definitely going to pick it up, and escalating to a queue, and if it's not, you have to escalate again, right? Like, I don't know. It depends on your business process. What should happen when it's in a queue? You have to do something about the process. You get.
Let's hope somebody picks it up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Opeyemi, I think, Opeyemi, please.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Babatope. If you go to your backend, the settings,
Sorry?
If you go to your backend, can you please? Okay, so in settings, click on settings. I see you have edit page. How did you get that there?
Oh, edit page. So edit page is this.
Yeah, how did you? I don't have it in mind here. I don't know.
So you have to be on the record page, not on the listing page, not on this page. You have to be on the record page. This is a listing page. Then you click on one record. Then you can go to edit page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to be on. You're editing a record page. Okay, it's different from editing a listing page.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think everyone is good. Again, I'm going to try my best to upload the quiz that has covered some of the things we've done, so you can now practice and hopefully you can see how well you're doing. In addition to that, tomorrow we're going to start working as a Salesforce administrator, or I would say consultant. The first thing you ever get when you start working is you want to move legacy data into Salesforce. How do you do that? You want to move from one hub to the other. How do you do that? We're going to start learning how to become a Salesforce admin. We're going to start building process builder. We're going to start building flows. We're going to start building workflow rules. Okay. This is what I would say the next phase of our training, which is a bit challenging. If you feel what we've learned today and the last few days is challenging, the next phase is a bit challenging. So please read ahead of the class. And when you come to class, it becomes easier for you. I'm going to slow down my pace with that because most of the things will be new to you. But for the ones we did today, as you can see, everything I did or said today is pretty much straightforward. It's just for me to create that awareness that you guys are aware of this and you know this. But tomorrow, I'm going to slow down the pace because everything I'm going to be teaching tomorrow is new and you need it for the job you're going to be doing in Salesforce. Okay, I think that's all from me. One last question and we stop for tonight. Samuel, please. You're speaking, but I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. So thanks for the session today. Just a quick one. Can you please share the what we need to read up before the class for tomorrow, please?
Yeah, just data management in Salesforce. So I will share with you. I'll share with the group, and I'll definitely share within the group as well. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Adewale, please.
Thank you very much, Babatope. You said we should read ahead of the class. Can you just, give us, a link where we can study ahead?
Yeah, I'll share that with the group. Okay. Yeah. I want you to read ahead because it's very important you are ahead of the class.
Yeah,
so in the classroom.
Yeah, this is a little bit funny. I was even thinking maybe we might just have a break, like a day break before we move into those other challenging areas so that we could have that 1 day break to catch up with past lessons.
Come on, we just had a 4 days, 4 days holiday or whatever it is, right? So I expect you guys to be reading.
I know, but you're doing a great job, but man, the load is getting heavier, trust me. And if it's not like this, trust me, it means it's too cheap, but it's not.
Yeah, the thing is I have limited period. I can only be teaching for a period of time. I cannot teach for 3 months. It's going to be too much. So 4 weeks is just perfect for me. Then what happens after 4 weeks is you using what I've taught you, because if you're part of my subscribers, you'll be getting jobs, you'll be getting tasks, you'll be getting presentation, you'll be facing interview questions, you'll be like literally be ready in 3 months. So what happens after the training is what most subscribers pay for, but I still help them within the training. But what happens after is what I'm really looking forward to that. Okay.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, highly favored. I need to stop now, but highly favored.
Good evening, Babatope.
Yeah, you're highly favored, because I'm already close for tonight, but
I
carry
know.
on.
So I really appreciate everything you're doing, but like the last person said, like, I know you can't teach for 3 months and all that, but just slow it down a little, because for me, let me speak for myself, I'm trying to really, really catch up, and there's too much to do, and in between we have meetings and all of that, and that can weigh people down and make them drop along the line. So I'm just, pleading for my own self. I don't know for other people, but I could also speak for other people that you just take it easy on us, and just so that all of us will go along together, not like people are dropping along the way and all that. That's my own contribution. And sincerely, you're doing an excellent job. Me, I can be very adaptive, but sometimes, I don't know. I hope you just understand, basically.
Yeah, it's okay.
There's a breaking point, right?
but what we did today is very straightforward. That's why I wasn't too worried about you guys learning it, because I know if you watch the video, you understand. They're just English words. They're nothing really technical. Tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, yes. But right now, I think it's just, escalation rules. We've done that. Processes, we've done that. Auto response rules, we've done that. If you're watching the video, try to watch at a slower pace, so you can just reduce the speed. I think go to speed and go to 0.5. So if I'm fast, just reduce it to 0.5 and it's going to be slow, like literally. Okay. So whatever I'm saying, just know that it's going to be 50% of the speed which I'm talking. I like to talk fast primarily because I talk fast, but okay.
Please don't forget to share that link.
Definitely, I'll share it in the group and you guys can read.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's all for me. Okay. I think that's all from me. Pearl, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, good evening, Babatope. Thank you so much for today. I wanted to confirm for the quiz we have, what's the password? Because I think you uploaded 2 more quizzes, right?
I think the password is November 12th, right?
For all of them?
Yes, have you tried it?
Okay, no, I knew that one was for November 12th, but I didn't know that the rest of them will be November 12th as well. Let me just quickly try.
Yes, it's November 12th, and it should be fine, okay?
12. Okay, thank you. It worked. Thank you very much.
No worries, yeah. Take care. I think that's all from me. Take care, guys. I'll speak to you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye.